to GameSpot Gameplay, GameSpot's podcast, and I'm your host, Kevin Van Ord, and it's great to have you back, or here for the first time, or, yeah, I should just move on. Let me introduce everybody that's in this room with me, and they're all very fine people, starting with Tom McShay over to my right.
Oh, there. Wait, I don't know which camera I'm in.
I don't know which one either. Oh, you're way up there.
Yeah, there it
Whoa.
is. Hello, everyone.
That's like a gameplay mechanic in Infamous Second Son. You have to locate where the camera
The
is.
hidden camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally
There it
right.
is.
Mhm.
Now, are
Nice.
you going to shoot it?
No.
Oh, okay. Seated next to you is your teammate. We're back on teams this week, people. Isn't that fun and exciting?
Woo!
And Cynthia Wears, right next to Tom. That's your teammate, Tom. Do you have anything to say to Cynthia to get her prepared for the win?
No?
No?
No.
No?
I know the game's kind of rigged, so it doesn't really matter what we do.
Is
The
it?
game's rigged?
It's predetermined who wins.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This is
I keep
scandalous,
track of
Howard.
points right here on
Okay.
this laptop.
You don't even have a point program open.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Don't tell me what I don't do. And over on the
Supervisor.
over on the other side of the room is oh, by the way, Tom's team captain.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, your team captain,
Sorry.
Tom McShay. It's been so long since we've been able to do an actual, honest-to-God, structured podcast for GameSpot Gameplay like the good old days. So it's good to have 4 other people in the room with me. Carolyn Pettit,
Hi. Hey.
team captain.
Oh,
Carolyn
okay.
Pettit.
Yay.
See, we're going off of seniority.
Aye, Captain.
You've got a microphone next to you, or a camera in front of you, which is good.
Yes.
Yes.
I do. Hi, camera.
Say, the camera says hello back. Is this like in
okay.
Taxi Driver when he's talking to the mirror? Do you suppose he's actually talking to the mirror as opposed to talking to the image in the mirror? Have you ever considered this?
No.
No.
Don't we have a fourth guest, Kevin?
Yes. Jayson Napolitano with Scarlet Moon Productions is here with us.
Hello.
Jason, what is that? Why don't you tell everybody what that is
Oh
and
gosh,
what you
that's
do?
I could spend
And-
a long time talking
yeah.
about that, but to put it briefly, it is a game music record label. It is a game music PR company, and it is a game music artist group. So trying to get some artists more jobs in the game industry because frankly, I want to hear some more of their music. And so
Hurrah.
that's kind of what we're doing.
Well, as it happens, we love music on this podcast. I love music, but nobody else really loves
Music's
music.
okay.
Just the people in this room like music.
I
but
give
nobody else out there
music
really
a
cares.
6.
But we like game music. Game music's a thing we do. So we will be doing some game music today. But we're going to start with round 1, which is
I
current buzz.
love it when we start with round 1.
I know you love round 1.
Yeah.
It's
no,
Carol's favorite round.
you always misunderstand this. I don't have any particular feelings for round 1 being better than any other round. I just love it when we start with round 1 as opposed to starting with round 2.
Oh, I know exactly what the joke is. I just love riling you up.
Okay.
So let's start with Jason and Caro, actually.
Okay.
I want to talk about GDC and some of the announcements that have come out of GDC, or even if not out of GDC, then out of GDC week, since, as we know, a lot of publishers, developers, and so forth sort of piggyback on the week to make their own announcements.
It feels like that's happening more this year than in years past. To me, I don't know if that's true.
I
but-
actually agree with that. I mean, most of my time's been dominated by
Yeah.
appointments rather than by actually going to panels.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah, I would say, to me, at least my personal experience of GDC this year is it's like a little more E3-ish. And I've always appreciated in the past what makes GDC, which is the panels. So, and I feel like
Right.
more companies are using GDC, knowing that all these journalists and all this media is going to be gathered in one place at one time to promote their games. And, I feel like it makes GDC feel a little less like what GDC should be. Anyway.
But there have been some interesting announcements, one of which was Project Morpheus. And maybe one of you can illuminate what Project Morpheus is.
Project Morpheus is Sony's venture into the realm of virtual reality.
So, Jason, I gotta. Oh gosh, what's going on? Oh, okay, Benito's doing something. But I guess I gotta ask, Jason? Do you think that VR, virtual reality, is important? What do you think about virtual reality? Is it going somewhere? Is it fad, or is it the future?
I don't know. I mean, I think
guess.
we all dreamed about this as kids, right? I think there was references to it in some films and music videos when we were younger, and I think that I don't think it's going to be a fad. I think it's literally going to be the next big thing. It's going to revolutionize what was done, kind of similar to what the Wii did, but on a bigger scale. And I'm really curious to see how the audio plays into this, the 3D audio, and there's a lot of new technology coming out in terms of sound, and I'm curious to see how that's going to play into virtual reality.
It's interesting that there's not a lot of talk about that. Actually,
Have
most
you-
of us are talking about the visual side.
Jason, are you aware of a VR sound-based program or experience called Sound Self?
I have not heard of Sound
Okay, I heard about this today. I haven't experienced it. It's a sort of feedback sensory experience where you sing or hum or just input your own sounds into the maybe there's a mic and a VR system and the sounds that you input create visuals that kind of go along with them. And apparently, at least from the person I spoke to who has experienced it, she said it was quite mesmerizing and
It
beautiful.
sounds awesome. It sounds sort of like a create your own synesthesia sort
that
of
was
experience.
That was the impression that I got. Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard of that. How
Yeah,
have I never heard of that?
I don't know. I think it's quite.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, so there are at least some people already experimenting with and playing with the sound, potential, the auditory potential that goes along with VR, which I think is.
I heard
exciting.
that they made it illegal to make horror games using this technology because people would literally die. Like,
Well, if you die
What?
in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah,
Well, you
absolutely.
play-
Everybody knows that.
you played Alien Isolation this week,
I did.
which you like literally streamed in a room with other people.
You're right. That game was so terrifying playing it on a television, and a big part of that is that the environment in the game is so convincing. To have that through VR,
with 3D sound. It's the 3D sound would be really
Sure,
interesting, too.
yeah.
So I don't know if any of you guys remember, but once upon a time, Peter brought in people. I want to say they were from Oculus, but I can't remember.
They weren't
for
from
sure.
Oculus.
It wasn't
They weren't
Oculus
from
stuff,
Oculus, okay.
yeah.
But
What
so,
was it-
so they
what was
brought,
it,
they brought
Benito?
in. Okay, so they brought in
VR King?
Arcade.
VR Arcade.
So VRcade came in and they showed off 3 different tech demos. One was you shooting targets, one was you pushing things around in this environment, and then the third one was a
Zombies
one.
coming at you.
And I hated this thing because with the surround sound over your ears, and you couldn't move, you couldn't do anything. Like it was just these, and they were blocky and horrible. Well, they were blocky.
Yeah, no,
But,
it
like,
was yeah.
But the sound was really good, and so like just watching them come up on you and then just start like on you just felt creepy. And so I can only imagine just how absolutely terrifying it would be
Yeah.
to be playing that in Alien Isolation. Incidentally, I would do it in a heartbeat. Like snap first in line for that.
I don't know if I could do horror, but like I'm playing Final Fantasy X Remake, which is not
10.
at all a VR
X.
game. But
10.
it's
Final
very,
Fantasy X, the famous
X2.
the famous pornography.
I know.
Final Fantasy.
But it's very immersive in the way that they do the art style and the camera movements and stuff. And I keep thinking like this is the VR seems like it's gonna be the future because like we love like the reason Assassin's Creed is popular is not because it plays good because it doesn't. It's because
Jesus
it's like
Christ.
it's because it like looks so
Shots
incredible.
fired, McShay.
No, it doesn't play good. It plays like baby's first open world game, but it like
Shut up.
looks so incredible that you want to be in this world. And like that's kind of what VR is. It's like finally gonna separate that, isn't it? It's like that's Aquanauts Holiday is gonna be actually interesting as opposed to just like a slow underwater thing. Like that's what makes it cool to me is because I already play games to be immersed in like that next step. As
Yeah, I
long as
agree.
it's not a horror game.
Well, confirm for me, and probably the listeners too, because I've never worn an Oculus or a Morpheus. Your ears are left open, correct? And they have a headphone port and a jack inside the headset that you can ideally.
That's my understanding because the pictures have just the thing strapped around, but I don't think there's a built-in.
I don't know. We'd have to go to white guys. What is it? White guys wearing Oculus Rift.
Tumblr.
Yeah, it's
There's
new,
a
it's
Tumblr that's
oh yeah,
that?
Tumblr of just photos of white guys wearing Oculus Rift.
Yes.
It kind of had a little explosion today, I think.
Oh my god, I have to look this up. Talk amongst yourselves.
So you're going to see the peripherals that are going to come out, and I've talked to some people here at GDC about 3D audio, and again, the way they're being able to create channels that are 9.1 or 11.1 upscaled sound, and being able to have that kind of surround sound immersive experience with the visual and the audio is going to really.
So-
Yeah.
at least it's a nice
Well, that sounds it
thing to
sounds
aspire
incredible.
to.
Benito, can you pull up this Tumblr, by the way, just so that we can give people an idea of what this is? I'm sorry for people that are
I
just
don't-
listening but not seeing. but it's it's white guys wearing Oculus. Oh, it's white guys wearing Oculus Rifts.tumblr.com. I googled it, and it's this. I would link you, but the touchpad on this
Wearing must have already been taken.
So yeah, definitely show people some visuals from this if you're watching the video version. If you're listening to just the audio, just go to white guys wearing Oculus Rifts.tumblr.com.
I don't know if this is as exciting as you're making it out to
I
be.
think some of the photos are pretty great.
Yeah, I think especially somebody pointing out that a lot of them are mouth breathers.
Yeah.
Which is a little unfair because they're probably just really immersed and kind of amazed at the whole thing.
Well, does it maybe it constricts your just it being on your nostrils kind of makes you.
Yeah, it might be like a snorkeling mask.
It could be, or they could just be smiling and impressed.
You're literally just
They're amazed. Yeah,
They are absolutely amazed at what they're seeing.
There you have it.
Yeah.
there has to be better ones. There has to be like animated gifs of people smacking things over or flailing their arms doing
That's
something.
That's gonna be a great defense in trials where it's like, no, I only. Nah, Peter Brown. Peter Brown is not in there for some reason.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but yeah, I love that's thank you for pointing that out, Carol. That's great. I hadn't heard about that.
Like Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah, but there are. I mean, not everybody's convinced that virtual reality is going to be interesting or amazing, or at very least saleable to the masses.
Right. There's some skepticism out there about whether the public at large is going to be willing to embrace this technology. Do the masses really want to have a device that they have to kind of strap on their heads when they're playing games, or is this going to be the next kind of Kinect/PlayStation Move, motion technology sort of bad?
The vocal community on GameSpot seems to be hesitant, to say the very least.
Hesitant meaning you don't think they're convinced of the value.
They're not convinced yet. I mean, so we published a story about how, like, don't worry guys, it's not going to cost $1,000, and they were like, cool. If it would need to be like completely reasonable in order for me to, get behind it. And then there were also the other stories, like Ubisoft had one where they were like, you're going to need to push X number of units before we even start to consider being on VR. And then, of course, the community also chimed in with like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be interested unless big people like Ubisoft pick it up. And I'm like, okay, well, one of the cool things about this tech, or one of the side effects of having this kind of tech, is that you kind of have to get behind it. Otherwise, you're not really going to see it anywhere. And like, it's a weird gamble, but I don't know.
I mean, so Peter Brown's feeling, having experienced, the Oculus Rift himself, and Eve Valkyrie in particular, is that this is a technology that once people experience what it can offer, they'll be convinced that it has real value and that it really can enhance the gaming experience. Mm-hmm. And so, if that's true, then skeptics will be converted as they get a chance to try VR.
Yeah, my question is VR in its current form a dead-end technology, in that like the real future is like the holodecks type technology that we saw Microsoft already has, like a demo of like where the living room basically turns into the game you're playing. You know what I'm talking about? Where like
then you need space.
Like the play space?
Well, no, then you need a
more of a space.
Yeah,
but yeah, but I guess that's my question. Like, is this dead end? Is this like actually the future? Like the way that we see VR, or is VR going to be headsetless? Basically,
I guess the thing that makes me a little anxious about it, I mean, I feel like for a lot of this stuff, we're just playing around now on the edges of gaming. And I feel like there's so much more to do within the actual game and what we have right in front of us itself that I'm not necessarily convinced that all of these different... motion gaming, yes, it did change things in certain ways, but I don't think it really actually brought us gameplay mechanics that were really that much different in terms of...
Motion gaming?
Well, motion gaming brought some cool things, like Wii Tennis and whatnot, but I feel like most of that was the exception rather than the rule, and that once it was done, there was really nothing else to do in terms of... So now we have Wii Tennis, there doesn't really need to be anything else. There's nothing else that we really need that does that same thing.
For me, the exciting thing is how do these things on the periphery of games and then the core stuff of games collide and come together to create something new. And again, to refer to Peter Brown's examples from Eve Valkyrie, where the headset allows for gameplay freedom that you wouldn't have had in a traditional space combat game, because you can continue flying your ship forward, but look up out of the cockpit and target enemies visually and attack them, as opposed to like having to do the old dogfighting thing of tailing enemies to target and so on and so forth. So it really feels like the technology is informing the way the game is played. So
I kind of wonder too if people are ready to, and I know this seems like a relatively shallow thing to wonder about, but I still wonder if people are ready to actually strap a thing on their heads. I always wonder if adding an additional piece of hardware, it always feels to me like something's getting between me and the game, even though ultimately it sounds like VR is actually making you more immersed. I always feel like, does there come a point where you're not conscious of having something on your head, for example? And I think we reached the point right now, right, where we don't really think about the controller in our hands for the most part. So are we going to get to the point, I wonder, where we just strap that thing on our heads and our bodies are used to it there, like a pair of glasses or something?
I think so. I mean, my feeling, even when the VR-cade guys were here and I got to put that contraption on my head, is that once it was on and I was in that world, I wasn't really aware of the thing that I was wearing anymore. I did feel, in a sense, transported to that world. And then when I took it off and then I was back in the real world, I felt a little sort of disoriented, like walking around in the regular world I had to readjust back to that. So I think that it is the sort of thing that once you just embrace it and you just put it on, it should kind of just transport you to the world of the game, and so that you're not so aware of sitting in a room with this thing strapped to your head with a goofy expression on your face, like the guys on white guys wearing Tumblr, wearing Oculus
I mean, we
Rift
do that
on.
every day anyway. It's like if you play a video game on a huge screen, and then you go to your friend's house and they have a 22-inch monitor or screen, and you start playing on it. At first, you're like, this is tiny, but it doesn't take very long for you to get used to playing it on that screen, and you don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
You're just so immersed, and that's
true.
without all the extra input that you're getting from a 3D VR headset. So I don't think you're not going to notice. I think it's going to take a few seconds to get it acclimated, and then your brain just takes over and you're in the game. I
suspect that it's going to have, its strong niche audience, and that it probably won't be largely mainstream, but I do suspect that there will be enough people that use it that there will be incentives for developers to do stuff for the Oculus Rift, but that stuff that's made specifically for the Oculus Rift will probably be not that common, no more than things that are made, say, specifically for Kinect or what have you.
Or like Google Glass.
Yeah.
I'd actually be really curious to see like what a Google Glass early adopter has to say about VR, since they've already had their hands on with that kind of similar tech. I mean, it's clearly they're not identical by any means, but
Augmented reality is totally different.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I've never used Google Glasses,
Seems like a baby
so, but I don't know. Like I think Google Glasses problems are a lot different than the potential for VR. But moving on, I'm going to ask Caro and Jayson as well. So there was a game that had been delayed, a PlayStation 4 game, and one of the rumors floating around was that it had been delayed perhaps because they had been toying with Morpheus support and they delayed it in order to make those things compatible. But what game am I talking about?
I don't know.
You don't know? Anybody know?
Really?
Yeah.
Kevin talked about it before we started recording.
I never listened to what that
You
guy
don't remember
saying.
either?
I hate all of you.
It was a racing game.
It was.
How come I know?
Yeah.
Drive Club.
Drive Club. Yeah.
It is Drive
It's because
Club.
I don't really care about Drive Club, so I just filtered it out when I heard it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but does anybody even care about Drive Club in this room, or
I'm not a huge fan of Evolution's previous games.
which are what?
I can't remember the name of it.
We're doing great.
Motorstorm.
Motorstorm?
Yes.
No, that was that?
That's Evolution Studios. It's the same. It's the same people who are making Drive Club made the Motorstorm franchise trilogy.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right about that. I'd
No,
forgotten.
I'm right.
Pacific Motorstorm Pacific
Pacific Rim
Rift.
or Rift?
It was Pacific Rift, I guess. Although we
Yeah.
want to say Pacific Rim now.
I always like those games conceptually more, just because the controls never did it for me.
Really, I liked Armageddon a lot, but I hated the fact that it tried to tell a story,
You hate when something tells stories.
I just
You
hate
hate it.
video game stories. You know I hate.
So
video game-
I'm interested in Drive Club just because I like racing games, but like I don't have high hopes yet, just because they kind of have to prove it to me at this point that they can make something that controls really well. But yeah, they announced that they totally scrapped the game and basically went back to the drawing board almost. A lot of their ideas just didn't pan out, so that's why it's been delayed so long.
That always sucks too, when
well-
especially because that was supposed to be one of the launch games and it was going to
Yeah.
be free.
Well,
for PlayStation Plus people.
I am glad that they recognized that they didn't have something that was worth releasing, and Sony gave them time and money to fix it. Like I don't think this is a bad situation at all, and hopefully it turns out really good.
It's not bad if a game isn't working out, and instead of releasing crap, that they actually fix it,
Yes.
and make it better. I'd rather a game be delayed than
Yes.
so on and so forth. So yeah, Drive Club is not going to be Morpheus at all. They're just working on making the game and getting it out. It's not going to be Morpheus compatible.
Seems reasonable.
At least at the outset. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, but this is our 66th episode. So 6 is a great number, 66 is a great number, and of course you add another 6 and that kind of implies, devilish things, right? So this week's audio quiz, so get ready with your headsets. This week's audio quiz is based on things that are have to do with heaven and hell, hellish things, the places you go when you die, and all those. That's the theme of this week's soundtrack quiz. So I should probably get Benito to pull up the first one. And this is going to be, I think I'm going to make the quizzes a free-for-all this time. So whoever can figure out what the soundtrack is, what the music is for first, wins the points.
So scream out the answer.
Yes. So tell me the answer as soon as you think you know it. Tell me what it is.
You can
All right.
you can say it.
You can say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll scream.
Whisper it in my ear, lovingly. No. Here we go with the first one. Benito.
Sounds like a game that's heaven or hell.
Yes. I'm trying.
Diablo?
No.
Damn.
Dante's Inferno?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Jayson coming out with the. Of course, Jason's the one that gets it. He's the game music guy.
Gary Scheinman, he's very talented.
Yes. He's also popular for what other soundtracks? Anybody else want to jump in? Jason knows, obviously. Do any Gary Scheinman fans?
You should know this. He just won a BAFTA award.
Dead
You
Space.
guys have to know.
Does he do Dead Space?
No.
Does he
BioShock.
BioShock guy. He just won a BAFTA
Oh,
award.
really?
For
So a very
BioShock Infinite.
prestigious
But he
award for
did.
BioShock
That was the
Infinite.
best part of
BioShock as
BioShock
well.
Infinite was the sound.
Absolutely.
Actually, I would probably agree with that.
Oh, God.
Yes. Well, I mean, I love BioShock Infinite, and I would still agree with that assessment that the sound might be the best thing about it. So, Benito, why don't you bring up number 2? The slightly different vibe than Dante's Inferno.
Yo, you made the cancel a sheet. 1, 2, 3, get sucked in my sheets. So like a dream.
Catherine?
Yes! Yes, Cynthia gets it with Catherine.
They mentioned sheep. That's about the only thing that I had to go off.
Oh,
True,
is that
that's
in there? I didn't
true.
even.
I was
remember
thinking
that.
it was Shoji Meguro, but I wasn't sure if it was a Persona title or Catherine. I should have just said them all.
Yeah. That was Catherine for sure. So anybody who does like Catherine in this room?
I do. I
Yeah?
love that game.
The game is very good.
Yeah,
As Gary said that you had
there's Catherine fans in this room,
You had to beat it to do 2-player though, and I
which was dumb. Can I
Which was
just say
dumb.
that really is dumb?
because I borrowed the Office copy for the 360 and then bought the PS3 copy and didn't feel like rebeating it again, but I can't play with my friends, which is dumb. Unless I sit down and, play it all over again.
God damn it! This touchpad. Does anybody have a Dominio? Do you have like a mouse over there
emergency
you can
mouse?
toss me? Can you look and see if you got a mouse? And then once I get that fixed up, we'll go on to the next one. But this is driving me crazy. I can't do anything on these. So I said this on Twitter the other day, but Tom's laptop is gone. Caro's had lots of problems with her laptop. I've had lots of problems with my laptop. Don't ever get a Sager laptop.
Mine just had problems with talking to our network. I don't know if it's Sager's fault. Don't throw mine
You've
into
got that problem there. I've got nothing but touchpad problems with this one. Caro's had sound issues and
again,
capture issues.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like might be just general.
But we're all having different issues.
Sure.
Like Caro's issues are different from mine, which are different from Tom's.
Right.
In other words, these things seem like a big old mess. So thank you for the mouse, Benito.
I don't want. I like
Saved
my
me.
laptop actually.
I like it otherwise. I think they're nice and powerful.
And every non-iMac is that what is the iBook?
MacBook.
MacBook touchpads are garbage. I don't know. I don't know why they don't just make them like Apple does. As someone who doesn't own any Apple products, but my wife has one. Like I don't understand. I'm not.
You just love saying your wife. Do
I
do. You
do.
still feel good to?
It's exciting,
to feel
even though it's
newly
been a year.
married.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So third soundtrack clip. Benito's gonna play it now.
Oh my god.
I know
DMC?
this.
No, it's not DMC.
I have no idea.
Oh, gosh.
Kara doesn't know because it's not Peter Gabriel.
It's true. It's true.
Kara does love Peter Gabriel, but it's not Peter Gabriel. Yeah. It would be interesting if it was. Has he ever done a game soundtrack?
Songs or compositions of his have been used, I think, in like one of the Mist, like or maybe Uru Ages of Mist or something.
Oh, you might be right.
Yeah.
That Uru used Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this El Shaddai?
No.
That was a good guess.
I love that
No.
game.
Yeah,
I've heard this before.
This
I
is
just-
lovely,
I
but
don't
I
recall what it was.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, Benito's dropping me a knowledge bomb. I wasn't listening. That he's playing a different one than I thought it was. So, okay. So, Jason, I'm really depressed about this one then, that you didn't get this, because you actually reviewed this in your blog.
It sounds. Oh, really? Okay, so it must be. No, it can't be Drakengard 3.
No.
No. It kind of sound. If I had to guess, I would have said Diablo 3.
This is Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I noticed that you reviewed that in your blog. I actually
I liked it, too.
had fun going through your blog, because you don't just. So you're not just producing some of these game soundtracks, because you've done things like Dragon Fantasy Book 2, which we did review that, by the way. That was a Vita game that we reviewed last year. But you also review soundtracks in your blog as opposed to just producing these soundtracks.
Yeah, it's been an evolution. That's where I actually come from, is writing more in a journalistic capacity about game audio in general. And so I did that for sites like Music for Games. I had started a blog back in 2008 called Original Sound Version, and that was with Dale North. He and I founded that blog, and then I ran that for a long time. And so when Dale became the editor-in-chief at Destructoid, I started writing on Destructoid about game audio. And then I decided I was going to start this company, but really wasn't willing to give up that element of sharing my love for stuff that wasn't things I was working on specifically with people. So in that way, having the blog at Scarlet Moon Productions allows me to kind of continue sharing my interest in game audio for stuff that I'm not particularly working on. So this soundtrack for Lords of Shadow 2 by Oscar Araujo, I really loved his score for the first game. And he had some like electronic elements for the second game, and I know the game has gotten kind of mixed reviews, but I think the score is fantastic. So I'm embarrassed that I didn't recognize the.
As well you should be, especially because I chose that one specifically for that reason. But I'm going to interrupt for just a minute because there's some community stuff going on my screen. Number one, I just got a message on Steam, and I thought Caro might appreciate this, from Smoke.
Okay.
Who says, "Damn you, Van Ord, Gone Home almost made me cry." And I really enjoyed it, but seems to be getting a lot of apathy in the Steam reviews section.
Well, apathy or outright just hostility. You know, I actually went to the one panel that I did manage to go to was Steve Gaynor, writer of Gone Home, talking about why Gone Home is a game, because one of the big criticisms leveled against it by certain people is this is not a game, you just walk around a house like looking at stuff or whatever. And he laid out a very, I think, strong argument explaining that, the reasons why Gone Home is absolutely a game. But he started by looking at user comments on sites like Steam and, all the things they say, like, this game is a conspiracy, and just like, or
a conspiracy?
Yeah, like the
what?
like the whole gay agenda.
Oh, it's the gay agenda
thing. Yeah.
Oh,
like
man.
all that nonsense. So yeah. Anyway, but Gone Home, easily my favorite game of last year, and I would argue the most important game of last year. and one of my favorite games.
Did
of all time.
you? Are you? You're not counting Spelunky Vita, I guess, right?
Okay. All right. Well, let's put things in
If we're
perspective.
talking about things like social issues and Spelunky Vita,
No, you're right. You're
number
right.
one, and
Yeah.
then Gone Home.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Okay.
I forgot
Okay.
about Spelunky Vita because Spelunky came out the year before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why.
It's really weird too that Gone Home gets that kind of. I mean, we'll move on in a second. It's just really weird that Gone Home often gets that weird criticism because, of course, number one, it's a game. I mean, it's so undeniably a game that it irritates me that people would suggest otherwise. But it's even more so. I mean, there's less interaction in the traditional sense in a lot of other things that do tend to get fan love, like Danganronpa and nine doors, 9 windows, 9 basements, or whatever that game was, and so on and so forth. So it just or Virtue's Last Reward. And
Those games get non-game hate.
yeah, but it's really weird that they
I think-
tend to develop.
Well, first of all-
but the Gone Home hate is fueled by the
The
knee-jerk
fact that
reaction
there's
to
an-
the subject matter. Like,
Plus, it's like I'm guessing that the average person doesn't even know what Danganronpa is, whereas Gone Home was like omnipresent. It was everywhere. It was this game that everybody was talking about, and it's in the GDC awards. Like Danganronpa and Virtue's Last Reward are beloved by the few people who play them, but they don't have that wider spread impact.
Right. Yeah, Gone Home is a game, and this is part of what Gaynor talked about at the panel, which hopefully I'll have a write-up of next week sometime. But Gone Home was a game that broke into the larger cultural consciousness in the sense that it was being written about on sites like Jezebel and, sites where, like, even if you don't play games, this is a game that will say something meaningful about your life, if you are a queer person or, what have you. So, come to gaming for this experience.
Yeah, that's different. Danganronpa is not in that class as far as social issues or anything like that. It's just a very fun game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does get non-game hate.
So anyway, moving on, I want to get back to the soundtrack. So Benito's going to move on to, I hope I know the one he's going to move on to, but why don't we play the next up in today's 666 themed soundtrack quiz. Yay. It is the one I trying to think of hints that I might be able to give. It's a game I very much like.
Okay.
What else? What else can I throw out there? I did well.
It's
Actually,
an amazing hint, Kevin.
I'm trying to think. I did not write the review of the first game in this series, but I did review it when it came out on a new platform, and then I reviewed its sequel. Maybe
Dark
that
Souls
one.
2.
No. Good call, though. Lark Anderson reviewed the first game when it was first released, the same month as Bayonetta.
Darksiders?
Yes.
Oh, nice, Cynthia. Nice.
Oh god, that game.
Man, Cynthia and Jayson are like clearly the. Oh, there's a fist bump going on in here. That was only slightly uncomfortable.
No, it's fine.
Watching the cross table fist. Oh, fist bump.
Navigating around the microphone.
See, we could have had Walter come on, and he could have just gone around fist bumping us and high fiving through the whole
pats
thing.
on the back.
Yeah. So okay, good job. So let's move on to, because there's 6 in total. So we'll move on to the 5th soundtrack bit.
El Shaddai.
Yes.
Oh man, El Shaddai. What do you think about El Shaddai's soundtrack?
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the game? Did you play the game, or did you just listen to the soundtrack?
I played it at events, and I have it wrapped in plastic somewhere. I haven't had. It's in the backlog.
Oh, like the game itself is great, but yeah, the music is incredible.
Yeah, and it's the same guy who did Monster Hunter stuff, so it's
Oh.
a really big.
I've never played
Masato Koda. He's
Monster
really
Hunter.
talented.
Yeah. And what about the game itself? You loved that game.
Yeah,
I really liked that game too.
It was such a smart, because it was all timing based as opposed to a lot of assortments of moves. So it kind of stripped down what DMC and Bayonetta and the like are into something that's more palatable.
So visually striking too.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time I would look over at your screen when you were playing it, it would look so different.
Different from the last time you looked
yeah,
over, but
it was-
consistent.
Yeah, just beautiful.
Oh yeah.
That stained glass 2D bit.
Oh my
really-
God.
Oh
Yeah.
my god! Still one of the most beautiful
Yeah.
things. Yeah, that
So
was.
you guys are saying that it being in my backlog, it is something I need to go back and
Oh
do.
yeah,
I would agree
yeah.
with that. Yeah, it's
Something like that doesn't age.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean,
that's the nice thing about it.
I mean, the combat's not overly complex, but it's about using the right attack and
well, the
having
complexity comes from timing.
the right timing, right?
It's all timing.
so
based stuff.
so it's just super fun and
Yep.
and, I like that. Plus, it's interesting because of its
thematic elements.
thematic elements
Yes.
because we're talking about we're talking about offshoots of Judaism here, things that aren't even necessarily absorbed into mainstream Judaism. So a lot of that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
I would suggest playing it for that alone, especially because Judeo-Christian culture and religious themes and so on aren't often explored in modern games, unless of course it's a Christian game, in which case most people in our realm tend to ignore things like that as being relatively shallow, and there's nothing in the AAA space like that, and most of those things, are aimed at a very, very specific audience.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think there's a possibility of having more Christian themed games in the mainstream? Do you think that that's ever going to happen? I was thinking this morning, like, because we'll get up to Assassin's Creed soon, but I was thinking about all the different things Assassin's Creed could do, and I thought, well, why not biblical history? We've gone in so
Oh.
many different places. Why couldn't we do, say, the Exodus?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Exclusive to the Morpheus.
Oh God!
I mean, I think there's a difference. There's a difference between games that have that subject matter as just the world or in which the game takes place, and then those games that are evangelical, like are have a clear message about the faith. So
Are we looking for positive examples of faith or just examples of faith?
Well, I mean, it's specifically Judeo-Christian faith.
Oh, then I
because
have no idea.
we do
I'm a dirty
games.
pagan.
Games go into, they're not necessarily afraid of the devil, and
Yeah, I mean-
and as a concept.
I mean, Diablo doesn't take place in our world, but it in broad terms it borrows all of these ideas about angels and demons and
Well, I mean,
Right.
BioShock Infinite had huge. I mean, like, it might not be the most positive example because, I mean, they kind of really distort.
Right, but I mean, even more. I mean, to me, that's more along the lines of like the religious impact on social structure and that kind of thing, as opposed to the religious themes themselves. Which I wondered, like, we see God a lot and we see devil, but we don't necessarily see our interpretations, Christian interpretations of those things show up a lot.
Yeah.
And when they do, they're turned into something so mythological that they're not really recognizable, to me at least, as I would recognize them.
I thought Journey was a religious game.
Yeah, but it's not based in Judeo-Christian, Morse,
Like,
for
again,
example.
like I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. So I mean, reincarnation, for example, is a theme. I'm sorry, spoilers.
No, I mean I don't see why there should be games that address that, because you're
Yeah.
supposed to have games that could speak to all different kinds of demographics. But it just seems like when you release something on that subject matter that if there's any sort of negative impression left, that gets out, and that's a PR nightmare for them, kind of thing. So maybe the studios are afraid to approach the topic of having them be too.
Yeah.
Well,
Apparently
yeah,
Kojima
I totally
needs to make a
agree.
game about
Yeah.
Christianity.
You're just not going to see gaming's last temptation of Christ, because I think that there's people are scared to do something like that ultimately. I
mean,
don't know if you get the publishing backing to do that.
Assassin's Creed has played around a little bit with this, but it's been on the sidelines, and
Yeah.
I kind of imagine if they would do something like that. I mean, Fox News was already terrified by the idea of George Washington as a villain, so I can only imagine what might happen if they were to actually do a fictional account of biblical history.
What about, like, I mean, like, Final Fantasy games have also touched really heavily. I mean, Final Fantasy 13, Lightning, whatever.
Yeah, Lightning Returns had a lot of themes. It's one of the most obvious examples of any recent game I can think of, but most of those were limited to thematic elements and story elements as opposed to a more obvious take on that. So, for example, Lightning is clearly meant to be sort of she's called the Savior.
Right.
And, Bunavelza is called God with a capital G. And there are quests, for example, where, they're going around killing anybody that looks like lightning, that took on, big Herod kind of, an approach that reminded me of like Herod going around killing all of the, the children of a certain age to kill the Messiah. So there were definite hints of that, but nothing that really approached that. And I like that El Shaddai exists, but I wish there was more stuff that potentially did do that. There are some games that have hit the mainstream, like Left Behind, not the Last of Us, but there was an RTS.
Yeah, but that did
based
not
on-
hit the mainstream,
No,
right?
but mainstream enough that it was on shelves and GameSpot reviewed it, and it was
Yeah,
considered to be a
Sure.
a
Well, those books sold millions and millions of copies. I mean, they were so, yeah.
yeah.
It's really interesting.
But
when
I still feel like it was a niche product in a
Yeah.
way.
We did review, I remember, the God Game, which was a quiz game, I think, from way back in. And there also was actually a game called Apocalyptica, which was a Revelation type deal. But that was more of a Darksiders kind of vein, but with a more obvious... I mean, Darksiders is clearly
Right. I mean, it's
Revelation
Four Horsemen,
and
right.
Four Horsemen and so on. But this was in that same vein, but a little bit more tied to the actual events of Revelation as opposed to the fiction of Darksiders. So anyway, we should move on.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's next, Benito, on this soundtrack quiz? We got one more, and I'll give you 5 points if you get this one. I've got my point tally thing up right now.
I don't know, Kevin.
This sounds like Copy Christ, and so it makes me also really want to say DMC again, but it's probably not.
It's not DMC.
Damn it.
I didn't use DMC, actually.
Why not? It had such a great soundtrack.
Because...
Do you have any clues that are not
I know
specific?
we're all trying to stall because it's very repetitive. We're trying to hear the next part.
there's no next part.
Uh-oh.
It's
Let me think here.
a pretty, guitar riff, badass kind of video game soundtrack that could be in a lot of different things.
Yep.
So,
Can you give us a clue as to what it's in?
the developer of this game has now gone on to join forces with a larger developer and actually is in charge of... I think they're now developing a game in a mainstream franchise.
That is a terrible clue.
It
That is
really,
a
really
really
is.
bad
I'm
clue.
trying to figure out how to do that. The developers also made a game that had a lot of swearing and
my
had
God.
a lot of no, hang on. A lot of creative swearing. The creative profanity was one of the main points.
So
of the
basically,
game.
you're talking about People Can Fly.
Yes.
I don't
Yes,
know
I
what
am
the
talking
hell
about
People Can Fly is actually doing
This
now.
is from Painkiller.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I know almost
the
nothing
people that
about
made
Painkiller.
Painkiller went on to make Bulletstorm, and
Actually,
there
really
you
like
go.
this
the
I'm
great
sorry
thing
about the
about
bad
that is-
clues. I was trying to come up with
I
something.
never would
wasn't
have
ready
gotten
for
that in a
clues.
million.
I think
in
that
a
leaves
million
us at a
years.
tie, though, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one got the
Yeah, nobody got the 5.
point bonus.
So we should let's move on to the other team now with Cynthia and Tom, because there's other stuff to talk about that actually happened this week, and let's move on to some Titanfall, because number one, because I've been playing a bunch of Titanfall this week, and I think Titanfall's really great. But also there was some various Titanfall news this week. Can
There's
anybody
been
inform
lots of
me as to
Titanfall
what was going on in
I know it.
Titanfall?
Do you know it?
land?
You can say it.
Okay, well, so Titanfall's doing really, really, really well. It's doing so well that there's a Titan that EA has been
I don't think that first part is necessarily accurate.
that it's been doing really, 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 really well.
We know it sold hundreds of thousands according
Okay.
to Microsoft's VP
So-
in Europe, which probably to me means less than 500,000, or they would have said at least 500,000. So it doesn't sound like it's doing really well. But go on.
Okay, so there sounds like there's going to be a Titanfall 2, and if there is a Titanfall 2, it might not be limited to Xbox/PC, which is kind of a big deal.
That
because
seems to be definitely a thing. that
System
will
Wars
happen,
was
yeah.
like, woo, Xbox PC exclusive, woo! And then when that news broke, and they're like, yeah, Titanfall 2 might come to, maybe Nintendo or Sony.
Nope.
They were like, yeah,
Not Nintendo. No way.
It won't
No
be
way.
Nintendo.
No, I know. But they in the news story,
Yeah.
they were like, it could come to any of these other platforms. They did also mention that they're working with I can't remember the name of the company, but Titanfall might be coming to Mac, which is also kind of neat. Because I have a Mac.
The guys who made Civ 5 for Mac.
Yeah.
The guys who made Civ 5 are going to port
A
over.
spear? Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Respawn's baby, apparently.
And then I can't remember what else because those are like the two.
Well, I mean,
biggest-
EA is publishing Titanfall too.
right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of they're not going to get exclusive rights. Microsoft this time comes from just Microsoft would have to pay a lot of money.
Oh, and
'Cause it's like it's no longer a new IP. It's an
Right.
established IP that is critically acclaimed, and the PlayStation 4 install base is pretty big. So Microsoft would have to shell out a fortune, basically.
also X360 was delayed again.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the other piece is that
Which
the Xbox
people are
360
like,
version was
"What?"
again delayed.
There's one more thing.
And then
Oh, Benito wants-
Xbox
SLI and
bundle.
4K support.
Oh yeah.
What was the
now?
last thing?
SLI and 4K support.
Oh,
yeah.
SLI and 4K support will be implemented in the PC version.
Which is interesting. That's the version I'm playing. And one of the first things that struck me when I first started playing is, and of course I know that the game is running on the Source engine and so forth, so that there's a certain expectation that it's only going to look so good, but I think I was surprised that it didn't look better, I guess, than it does. When you're in motion, you don't really notice this stuff. But during the during the little scenes that occur before you jump out of your dropship and so on and so forth, you get a good look at the people and the facial animations and the textures around you, and you realize that this is not pushing any limits whatsoever on the PC, and presumably then not on the Xbox One either. So I'm wondering what is going on with the Xbox 360 version.
So it seemed that all indications point to this not selling that well right now, or at least like way below expectation for the amount of hype it received. Because, I mean, we know it sold hundreds of thousands, which is not something that's necessarily brag-worthy. And I think pushing the 360 not once but twice kind of shows Microsoft's hand in, like, they wanted to sell on their platform, specifically Xbox One.
Okay.
And it's not doing well enough right now, so they're still, like, pushing it out, like, hey, seriously, jump into the Xbox One. And then you also see Best Buy and Walmart are now selling a Titanfall bundle for $450,
Right.
Which means it's essentially like $10 cheaper than a PS4.
So conjecture. So this is conjecture. We don't
Yes,
necessarily.
there's a lot of evidence that points to this game is definitely underperforming, and it is not like the second coming or the first coming that Microsoft really wanted to push their platform.
This is why System loves you, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I was
Just
saying
saying.
before, or I guess at the beginning of this month, before Titanfall came out, that like if Microsoft spent a lot of money on this.
Right.
We don't know how much, but they spent a lot. That if they didn't like grossly outsold the PS4 this month, then I think they're going to pull the Kinect and offer a $400 bundle by June. And it kind of seems like that's the way this is going to go. I would not be surprised at all if Infamous outsells Titanfall, even though it's lower Metacritic score and has not been hyped nearly as much. I think it's going to outsell it, and that would be devastating for Microsoft if they can't make up ground in this month that they spent millions of dollars to catch up.
I mean, if your conjecture is right too, then that also is certainly a great reason for EA to say, we want to make sure that the game is on as many platforms as possible, because we now have this developer and we work for this developer that makes great games, and we want to get that onto the platforms that are selling the best.
Yeah.
So
and what's interesting, I mean, it'll be interesting when they drop the price, because Microsoft's going to drop the price relatively soon. They have to. It'll be interesting if price is the determining factor that's keeping the Xbox behind the PS4, because I don't think it is. I think it's just Microsoft's attitude that they gave off has just been turning people off, and that's just kind of it.
Right.
Once you burn bridges, it's tough to rebuild bridges, and it's like Sony's done a lot well. Why would you go to someone else? And I think Microsoft has a real tough battle right now with that.
Yeah. So you've been accused apparently of being a Sony fanboy because of comments like that, but then of course you're actually a Microsoft fanboy because you dared to call Infamous Second Son great.
And Tom, I am so sick of your Nintendo fanboyism. Always talking about how much you like Nintendo.
Except of course when you give a Nintendo game a lower score, in which case you hate Nintendo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we love and hate everything depending on what it is you want us to be loving and hating.
Well, I don't
at any given time.
I don't hate Infamous. Infamous is my
great.
favorite open world game in years, actually.
And what's funny is, and Tom and I have talked about this. Now, granted, I haven't actually finished the game yet, so it's a little unfair of me to talk about. But I think Tom actually likes the game more than I do. But I still have a lot more. I still have a lot more to play. But I hate the characters so much. I hate Delson very, very much. And so that his impact on my experience has been negative enough.
It's been detrimental to the overall.
It's been detrimental to my overall experience because I can't stand the characters.
For Tom, he enjoyed the mechanics so much that he was ultimately able to look past what a jerk face Delson is.
So Jayson, I don't know, have you seen this game? Have you played this game yet?
I have not.
So I think the sound design is excellent. I think the music is mostly excellent in the way it complements.
Well, and past Infamous titles have had amazing soundtracks. So
Infamous
I wouldn't
2
be surprised.
especially.
Yeah.
But I was just really impressed with how cohesive everything felt and how it really worked. I mean, some of the tracks are a little kind of cheesy 80s rock, but I think most of it works really
There's no
well.
such thing.
So I'm curious what do you think you're going to cover this?
All 80s rock.
Right.
It hasn't really been on my radar,
Okay.
but
I-
that's a good endorsement. So I'll have to look
Come
into
on,
it.
Jason, get on the ball. Get on the ball, Jason. Come on.
Also, it's
Come
really
on.
fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, that game. I will say that game is super fun, and I think once I really get further into Delson's character arc, that maybe he'll grow on me a little bit.
Well, he never grew on me, but like I said in my video review
Just
specifically,
laugh
like
at him.
you just got to take it, just because it's worth putting up with him for the rest of the game, basically.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting because a few people pointed out to me that Cole wasn't exactly the most likable person
he
in
wasn't.
previous. But I could put up with Cole fairly easily, especially because he had foils. Like he had Zeke, I guess, in the first game.
That was his buddy.
Yeah, so he had Zeke in the first game to kind of foil him. And I don't know that I find Delson's brother that interesting yet, to the point where I think he's a good foil. And Betty back at the reservations, more of a plot instigator than she is a character in her own right. But
So related to Infamous, though, their lead designer left this week.
oh, really?
The guy who is, I don't know, was in charge of leading the team that created this incredible gameplay has stepped down, which is it's another Sony high profile person who has stepped back down recently.
Because we also lost
Amy Hennig.
Oh, right, Amy Hennig with
and then I always want to call him
Naughty
Stieg
Dog.
Larsson, but it's clearly not Stieg Larsson. But Stieg made he was the head of God of War 3 at Sony Santa Monica, and he's gone along with 50 other people at Sony Santa Monica. Is it Jack Tretton?
Jack Tretton.
Is gone. So it's
he's
kind
gone
of
from
it's weird because
Sony.
Sony is doing so well right now, I think, in so many ways, and then but all of these people are leaving, which is a little disheartening.
Right.
To be as kind as possible about it.
I'm going to move the subject a little bit because we're talking about Infamous open world game, and there's been some open world game news the last couple of days. So this morning, Ubisoft released.
Are you really segueing away from people leaving Sony to Assassin's Creed?
Yes.
Yes, because we have limited time. Eventually, I got to get there.
Okay.
But we got an Assassin's Creed teaser type trailer this morning that was fairly unexpected, and I'm
Shocking.
I'm
There's a
presum-
new Assassin's Creed this year, Kevin.
it was
blows you away. Wait a second. There's actually 2 Assassin's Creeds coming out this year.
I hate you, Tom.
There's 2 of them. They're
So-
trying to kill the franchise so quickly they
So-
can't wait.
moving back.
How can we
a
run
minute.
this thing into the ground
What if we
as
make
quickly
2?
as possible?
2 different
let's back
Assassin's Creeds. And we'll name one of them after an engine that is ubiquitous for some reason.
I don't usually like to swear at you, Tom, but fuck you.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. You know I
Tom,
love you.
you're
You're my
great.
favorite
It's
person
just,
on
you
earth.
know, I mean,
You're my
Thank
favorite
you.
person on earth. I just happen to love Assassin's Creed, and
I
I'm
know
okay with
they need to take a break. They're actively trying. Do you remember when there used to be 3 Guitar Heroes a year, and then Guitar Hero didn't exist? Stop actively trying to kill your properties.
just let's back up a minute. I what I meant by the surprise of the trailer is I don't think that Ubisoft was expecting to have have anything official ready today. Although Carol might disagree that maybe some of the leaks that had come out, like the leaked screenshots.
I'm always
at Kotaku.
skeptical about leaks. I often feel like they are calculated, like they're actually done on purpose as a way of getting information out there and making
usually,
the public aware of
usually.
a game. So, I don't know that it wasn't leaked accidentally on purpose.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be weird though, to me at least, if they leaked something that looked as relatively bland as the screenshots that were leaked.
Sure.
And they looked like screenshots that have been filtered through like something else, like a camera that took a picture
know
of a
if you-
screen or something. It doesn't.
Do you remember
They
when,
don't look
like,
really good.
those like quote unquote next Uncharted images were surfacing. Like there was a GIF, and like the whole internet just went nuts because it was on Vimeo, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is next Uncharted!" And like YouTube videos were getting pulled down, and so then the conspiracy theorists like kept rolling with like, "Clearly this is next Uncharted game," and then they were like, "Nope, that's not it. That's not what this is."
Hey, remember Beyond Good and Evil 2? Anyway,
That was legit.
that was legit though.
but then
it
they wanted to
still
make
was-
18 more Assassin's Creed, and we never
Yeah.
got it.
So, but yeah, there's
Yes.
so as far as we can tell anyway, so Kotaku leaked those screens and forced Ubisoft's hand, and so Ubisoft put up their little teaser trailer today, and it doesn't show much, but it does show us enough. We know a title, we know a setting, so we know that the setting is going to be Paris during French Revolution days,
So
and
pre-Les Mis.
yes, pre-Les
If you're
Mis.
keeping track of
Tom's-
history.
Tom's
Such
reference
disdain.
point.
Well, it's like 15 or 20 years before Les Mis.
Right. We know that there will be guillotines because we saw a guillotine right there in the teaser trailer. So I imagine that, and that's not necessarily a surprise since we've seen hangings and we've seen executions, and that's been a prominent part of Assassin's Creed in the past.
And there's a picture of you on a roof.
There's a picture of you on a roof
Okay,
looking
confirmed.
down.
You will be able to stand on roofs in this game.
There's a surprise. Oh, my
Confirmed.
laptop's losing, so I might end up lose things. God damn it! I wish I would have brought my thing because
Yeah, you've told me about this before. And it's also called Unity. Which
it's
is
also
just
called Unity. Yes.
kind of, as Tyler said, like they didn't want to call it id Tech 5, so they called it
So let's
Assassin's Creed Unity.
So before my laptop runs out, I want to move on to the quiz before I move back to Assassin's Creed so that I can I can
Okay.
actually see the stuff that I'm doing first. You won't need your headphones for this part. So you can anybody that's had them on, you could
just
have
had this
taken
on
them
this
off.
whole time
I
like
just
an
realized
idiot.
that I had them on the whole time.
It's like virtual reality. You don't even realize it's
Yeah.
there after a while.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw this one. So I'm gonna throw this one out to everybody as well. It'll be a free for all.
Okay.
So what I've done is a little bit like the soundtrack quiz, except with quotes. So,
Except I sing the songs.
Right. So as you know, we've talked about Titanfall and Metal Gear, even though we haven't actually talked about Metal Gear.
You don't have to read that.
But the games both feature big mechs. So I decided to quote some dialogue from games
Oh Lord.
featuring mechs that have come out in the last. These are all.
Wait, are these
recent-
all big mechs or are they some normal size?
Some of them could be normal size, but these are all.
What is a normal size for a mech?
These are
normal
Shut up! Shut up! Shh. I have limited laptop
I
time
believe
left.
according to the Star
So-
Wars universe, that is
So
8.5 feet.
Shut up! These are robot and mech things. Games that feature robots and mechs prominently that have come out in the last 5 years. So I'm going to read a line of dialogue that I hope gives you a hint as to what it might be, and you have to
Okay.
tell me, okay?
Okay.
So, and this is a free for all for all of you. So, back on Earth, my father believed you had. Shut up.
Transformers.
Stop it, you're gonna make us lose.
Back on Earth, my father believed you had to confess your sins if you want to be forgiven. He never got the chance.
Lost
but
Planet
maybe,
3?
Yes.
I was going to say Lost Planet 1.
Yes, it is Lost Planet 3. So,
Back on
there you
Earth.
go.
That's
There you
what's
go.
old. Yeah, the frontier story. That whole.
Oh,
My
God.
laptop just left. Benito, you have to do the rest. Beep. Benito, you have to read the rest. Is it up on your screen? Oh, there we go. Benito's got to steal from.
Okay.
Kara, you'll
Should
have
we,
to shout if you know it.
I'll
You
give.
can
Oh, yeah,
share
We're
with
sharing.
Jason.
Share. Okay.
So sorry about that.
It's okay.
Externally indistinguishable from humans. When in God's name did robotics get this advanced? The tech built the tech to build a robot skinned in a living layer of cells.
Binary domain.
Yes.
Oh, man. man, that box art.
I need the microphone. You can.
See, you thought this was going to be hard, but I actually tried to choose exact
Oh.
quotes that would help clue you in as to what the game was.
That
See,
game is so
I'm not
rad,
so
too.
mean. That game is pretty rad.
That game's really
that
good.
story is really neat, and it's
Yeah.
pretty shocking. Like the scene that occurs
Oh, no.
right before that dialogue is really shocking.
He's got a giant finger on the screen.
Oh hi! Sorry, really shocking.
Crushing
Sorry, I
garbage.
didn't know.
Oh, my God. This is like those lame 3D where the character points with a cane. It's what Kevin's doing right now.
It's like sorry about that. It's like when you go to a movie and the birds flying in your face.
oh, my
and
God.
stuff. Like,
Or when you go to the park and the bird's flying in your face.
shut up. I love you so much, Tom.
Thank you.
Absolutely. What's next, Benito?
Okay, here's the next quote. My fellow Americans, today has been a day of great tragedy. San Francisco will never be the same, and the toll of our war has been increased by countless men, women, and children.
Pacific
Vanquish.
Rim.
No, it's
Who called
Vanquish.
Vanquish.
Yeah.
I
Oh, of
did.
course,
Tom
of course,
got
it's
it.
San Francisco. Yeah,
Tom
yeah,
got
Of course, it's Kevin Van Ord.
yeah.
So I had to throw Vanquish in there somewhere. We haven't
know.
talked about Vanquish in enough time.
I love
I'm gonna be
Vanquish.
such dead weight. I'm so sorry.
It's quite all right. Cynthia's not into the mechs. I wish Kat Bailey were here.
That's
She
not
likes
true.
nothing but mechs.
I'm just not. I haven't played a mech game in a really long time.
Oh, so there you go.
Also, I don't know if I don't know if the robots in Binary Domain are mechs.
There are some mechs in there.
Oh, I'm
some
not getting
real
into
Okay.
semantic
true
debate about mechs.
But,
Yeah.
but typically, yeah, that's why I said robots and mechs when I
Robots.
Robots.
Yeah.
Let's
What's
do it,
up?
Benito.
What's up
All right,
next?
This is the last one. Remember the 2 procedures to maintain your new body. 1, seizing nano repair units from your foes, and 2, absorbing their electrolytes.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yes, that's correct. See, and you thought this was going to be hard.
So 2 platinum games in there.
Yeah. So I'm also going to throw out something that, when I was researching this, it really crossed my mind that there is no real good repository for video game quotes. It's really hard to find video game quotes out there. I mean, they are on IMDb for the biggest games
Giant
and for
Bomb.
other places, and
Giant
Giant
Bomb.
Bomb. But it is so hard to find quotes for games, even like Metal Gear. And I got all of these from watching cutscenes on YouTube.
Oh, I was hoping you just remembered.
No, I didn't. No,
I had to
didn't-
Way to
Remember all
destroy
of
the
these.
illusion, Kevin.
Yeah, I
God.
know, right?
Here
But I
you're supposed
got
to be
these
this
all from
pinnacle
one-
of video game knowledge, and here you're just cheating off of YouTube.
I am. I'm supposed to be that.
Well, he probably went
I
and
don't wanna
looked
be
at the clips
You're
based
the
on
you're-
remembering
you're a
something from
senior
the
at
But
that
game.
I did
right?
use Giant Bomb to
Good.
help me narrow down what games I was going to choose. So
There you
thank
go.
God for the Giant Bomb wikis, right?
Thank
My
God.
sister's site, Giant Bomb.
You know that Patrick Klepek actually fills all of those wikis by himself? Just has a lot of different users.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
that
his
true.
thing.
It's
He
like
actually has a
90%
lot of
true.
usernames.
It's like 90% true.
Right, because there's a lot of user content.
No, I was joking. I was joking completely.
Okay. I was going to be like, so I'm going to give a shout out to the community for being awesome on Giant Bomb.
No, I'm giving a shout out to
Because they
Patrick Klepek who just...
No.
Who spends 24 hours a day doing nothing but filling
I
out
know.
wikis.
He's-
And
really-
playing Binding of
kill
Isaac.
me. Just kill me, please.
He gets a lot of other stuff done. He's very
Oh,
talented.
speaking of Patrick Klepek,
Yeah?
He's in town?
this happened just a short while before we came up here. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
there's some asswipe on Imgur, which is what I call it. I don't know how you're actually supposed to pronounce it, but some asshole on Imgur
think that's it.
uploaded this image that was supposed to be a list of all the social activist game journalists.
Which one should
that you
avoid. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so there were some people on the list. I was really sad that I was not on the list because I typically like to bring my gay propaganda machine
yeah.
into the site. But Carol, you were on the list.
I was, yeah. Yes, so I was proud to be heralded as a social justice warrior that people should avoid at all costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway,
Congratulations,
thank
Carol.
you. Thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
You're the
There you
only
go.
woman to make the list.
That's right, which I called out on Twitter. I'm like, as a social justice warrior, I really have to say that this list needs to have more
Needs
women
to have more
represented
women.
on it.
I was really sad I wasn't on the list, but congratulations to Polygon as being one of only 2 publications in which every single person at the website
Yeah.
was considered
Polygon
to
was
be.
the
other one,
Yes,
yeah.
Kotaku was the other one, because we know Brian Ashcraft, the great social warrior.
I don't know.
I
don't know if that's a joke or not.
So video
That
game
was
music.
mean.
Huh?
That was a little
How about
mean.
them?
That's
how about them
actually
chiptunes?
unfair because Brian doesn't really Brian reports on completely different things than video games for the most part. So, but yeah, I mean, congratulations to Polygon, our friends, Phil and Arthur and Russ and all of the people, Danielle and all of those great people that do things for Polygon. You are all social warriors, so way to go. But I imagine this poor Fedora guy out there just so upset that we're out here talking about things other than the video games are fun.
Poor Fedora guy?
It's a Reddit thing. You wouldn't understand.
Okay. I don't understand.
You're
Reddit.
not a meme guy, really.
I know what you're talking about, Kevin.
Yeah. So all the
yeah.
fedoras out there, we're so sorry that we've yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, moving on. What were we talking about before? Now that I don't have my
Assassin's
laptop, we
Creed.
were talking about Assassin's Creed.
What are you doing,
yes.
Jason? You're killing me.
So yeah, shut up. I do love you though, Tom. Tom doesn't like Assassin's Creed as much as I do, but I do.
I used to love it.
So there's a thing, the subtitle Unity is also interesting because, and another shout out to Polygon, Arthur Gies, who I follow on Twitter, had tweeted suggesting that, maybe it's possible that like The Division and The Crew and Watch Dogs, that maybe Assassin's Creed is going to have an online component, something that's so core to the game that you'll need to always be online. To
Watch
access
Dogs
that.
is always online?
I don't think it's always online.
I didn't.
I don't know
Yeah, I don't
for
think it is.
sure.
Man, if they're trying to
But-
find other reasons for me not to play Assassin's Creed, there you go.
Bloodstains.
But it, but
Oh, I would
Yeah,
be so
suddenly-
in. I don't want to trust Ubisoft to be able to make a game
But
with
suddenly,
controls like that.
see, now the subtitle makes me wonder if it's called Unity, does that mean that that's also a play on a potential online connectivity of some sort, even in the single player game. And I can see that being done for several reasons. Number one is we've had metagames before in Assassin's Creed where for example, you send out assassins to do your dirty work. Could this then go to, there's sort of a board game aspect to that. Could that now become sort of a multiplayer thing with people, all sorts of different assassins sending out their subordinates, for example? That could be something. But I don't know specifically, because this game and its like modern day trappings, kind of gives rise to almost anything that you could potentially do. Yeah. So I'm
hope
kind
you
of
have
curious.
to bug your Facebook friends. I think that would be ideal.
You love that stuff.
That would be so cool.
Candy Crush Creed.
Yeah,
Be a thing. So then there's that, but also there's also the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and this is what you were alluding to earlier. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC. This is what you specifically stated earlier, that the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC are the platforms for Assassin's Creed Unity, and apparently whatever Assassin's Creed goes to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 will be a different game.
Yeah, there's been no mention of a Wii U version. I don't know if there is a Wii U version at all, because I don't even know at this point, but if it would be lined up with the 360 or the One.
Of course
at
it
this
would be.
point.
The 360 and the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, there's
it's
no
question.
sad to say that, but I mean, it probably would be if they get a port.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ubisoft doesn't seem as gung-ho on the Wii U as they once were.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Wii version, though, will be on par with...
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff there to kind of mull over, especially because the trailer doesn't really have much to say. He does, whoever this assassin is, and the rumor is that his name is Arno, but the rumor is that he's putting
I thought it was
something...
Jean Valjean.
Yeah,
Stop it.
24601?
Oh my god, nice.
Yeah, see, I know some things. So you stick, he's putting something in a pocket or whatever in his robe. So I'm kind of wondering, as he looks down at the crowd, as they're like crowding around whoever's getting guillotined. It's a huge crowd, so whoever's being guillotined is an important person.
Or it's
just fun to watch them
revolutionary
get guillotined,
France, and there's not anything else to do.
They're just not doing anything, so all the people of Paris come out.
I hope
on their
it's-
Sunday best.
Were there other things to do?
I don't know.
I
I hope
listen to this fine podcast.
I hope
they spent
they're-
Sunday in the park with George.
I hope they're killing Hitler as baby Hitler.
Nobody,
Hitler?
Just like-
no baby
just
killing. I
Famous
don't
French
even care if it's
Revolution
Hitler.
Hitler.
Well, he
was
was
Assassin's Creed.
he was probably alive, right? It was 1880.
No.
How old
Hitler
was he during
not.
the war? 50, 60, something like that? I don't know.
You're thinking of the wrong.
How old,
He was younger.
No,
Yeah, I think you overestimate
how old was Hitler in the 40s?
I don't know. Carol, can you look that up while we move on? Carol's
Sure.
going to look
Wow.
up to see
How old was
Hitler-
Hitler?
When was Hitler born?
Hitler's birth date.
Well, we know it's April 20th.
Infant Hitler being guillotined. French Revolution.
Maybe it'll, well, that would be pretty great.
Maybe.
April 20, 1889.
They said the 1880s. I totally said
That
that.
was 1889.
There we go.
I'm still pretty sure that takes him out of the running of being
I-
guillotined.
Maybe, and also just I don't think anyone wants to see a baby get guillotined.
Right, pretty much. Well,
I knew it was April 20th, but I had no idea.
So
what.
one problem is that the French Revolution occurred
Well, yes,
from
it was much earlier.
1789.
Oh!
Yes.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah,
That's not
1789.
even close.
No.
I always remember the
Close.
789.
But you know, they,
Okay.
like,
Hitler's grandfather
fingers
at the
crossed for
guillotine.
Germany.
Suddenly, all of history has changed. Hitler's grandpa, the baby infant grandpa Hitler. I don't know what's going on anymore. So
I'm
we're talking
totally,
about baby Hitler, so there
totally
you go.
super intrigued. in
This needs
that.
to go in the decks. People click
Yeah.
on it. Baby Hitler.
Shouldn't there be an Assassin's Creed where you assassinate Hitler for Christ's sake?
Yes, it should be in
How is
Germany,
this-
which is what I wanted this one to
How
be.
is that not? a
well, you do.
thing?
I mean, spoilers, but you do assassinate the Pope.
Well, no, yeah. But that
Speaking
was-
of religious
Speaking
games,
of
with
Hitler.
religious overtones.
Yeah, well,
What are you talking
Assassin's
about?
Creed
It's
2
true.
also rewrites the entire history of the Garden of Eden. Like the whole Adam and Eve story is completely mythologicalized, which is a word I just made up in Assassin's
Mythologized,
Creed
I like
2. So
Why can't you kill Hitler?
Because
I
we haven't
don't-
gone to
it could
Germany
be-
yet.
because we
It's
haven't
gonna be
done
Assassin's
Because
Creed
we
6.
live
Yeah.
in a universe in which Hitler unfortunately existed, right?
We could change that.
That's what Assassin's
Not with
Creed
a
does.
not with a video game. I mean, that was one of the problems with the DLC of for Assassin's Creed 4.
Tyranny
is
of
like-
George Washington.
Oh no!
Oh, no, you're talking about
like the dealt
Freedom
with
Cries.
slavery or whatever, and like we got a like a press letter or whatever about it, and it said something like tackle the historical scourge of slavery in whatever the DLC was called.
Freedom Cries.
Freedom Cry.
And I'm like,
Just one cry.
No. I mean, the magnitude of slavery is so tremendous that you can't grapple with it meaningfully
in a DLC.
in this-
3-hour DLC.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I think
So-
these
Well, we
things
covered
can-
that issue.
Yeah.
Done is done.
I think that these things are and should be grappled with in video games.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's really important to do it right if you do grapple it. And I do give kudos to Ubisoft for at least doing something with it. Which,
no, I think it was.
But I didn't
They
personally.
use slaves as a literal
Yeah.
I didn't
commodity in that
personally
game.
play it.
Yeah,
So,
that
and
was-
I know, I know people that like it and people that don't like it.
Yeah.
And
You
so
can say
I
that
don't-
about just about anything. I
Right.
mean,
Yay,
But my
internet.
point is, I haven't played it myself, so I perhaps
Sure.
there could be a time where if I do play it, I could feel that it does. I still need to
you might.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds incredibly problematic in its
Yeah.
handling of those issues.
Yeah, the fact that you treat slaves as a commodity is
that in and of itself, is certainly an issue. But one of the things I also wanted to talk about was
Were you
Metal
just gonna
Gear.
say you
but
didn't finish Black Flag?
I'm very close now, but I'm almost done with Black Flag because I want to finish Black Flag before I know as the Assassin's Creed guy, you'd think I would have finished it long ago, but I really do love it. And as we talked about in the office the other day, like you don't find Assassin's Creed collectibles very meaningful, and in past Assassin's Creed, I would agree with you, but for some reason, this one has the chase the waypoint thing going in ways that typically don't grab me in games.
Well, you like
Like
the
the music notes?
The music notes.
Yeah,
That's
I like the
one
music
of my
notes.
favorite
It's my
things,
favorite
is
thing.
just because it's one of those things that I can play with my daughter in the room because I as a rule don't play anything above an E rating because of a thing that happened with Puppies and Kingdoms of Amalur. But so we'll do things like find waypoints or chase the music notes because I'm not engaging with people, or if I am, I'm usually just like bumping into them and then running up to the next building. So I can
Right,
chase
there's
their
nothing
notes.
mature that's going to happen in
Right, other than like watching me jump off of some really tall building.
I'm trying
And
to
then she's
think-
like, jump. And I'm like,
Okay, now I can't not ask now. What happened? I played Kingdoms of Amalur and I don't remember anything with puppies, but it's been a while.
So
what's going
I
on
thought I
with the
talked about this in the
puppies
last
in
podcast.
Kingdoms of Amalur?
Okay, so I was playing
did you?
Kingdoms. I might have, but so to like recap, I was playing Kingdoms of Amalur with my kid in the room, and I'm killing wolves, and she starts like fussing and kind of whining, and she's yelling at me to stop, and I'm like, what? And she's like, you're killing the puppies. And I'm like, what? And she's like, why are you killing puppies? And I'm like, oh God, shit.
It's XP
Well,
is the
honey,
answer.
you see, I'm doing it for experience, for valuable
Like
experience.
there was no way around it, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. And I turned off the TV, and then like I was just like, let's color. And I was just like, I don't know how to address this issue with my 3-year-old. And so like just from that point on, I was like, we're gonna play platformers. We're gonna play Pokemon. She's so into Pokemon right now. It's the coolest thing. Like
That's way more animal cruelty than it is in animal.
Oh God, don't even let her see Viva Pinata. I think that's a little too sexy for
a
someone
4-year-old.
that age. Yeah. Man.
But yeah, so
those
yeah,
hearts floating, you know what they're doing.
But so yeah, so with games like Assassin's Creed or with other games that you have side objectives, I'll try and play those like during the day if she's wandering around the room, so that I don't have to worry about her
Yes.
seeing inappropriate content because I'm one of those parents.
Yeah, that seems like a very good
Right.
idea.
It
I
seems like
will
the way it's
never be a
supposed to
mom
be.
who lets my kid play Call of Duty at the age of 8. I'm sorry, other parents who are out there who
But
let
would
their
you
kids
give
do that.
Would you give her a birthday cake for Call of Duty with
Sorry?
frosting grenades on it and stuff? This was like a thing like this week that there was like a 10-year-old who got a Call of Duty birthday
I
cake.
probably wouldn't be that parent. Like,
Nope.
I will.
Nope.
You're not allowed to tell parents what they can and can't do, obviously, but I would never do that.
Yeah.
So
Seems reasonable.
Well, you're allowed to. I mean, you could
It just
tell other
doesn't go
parents
over very
what
well.
not to do, but
Frosting
it's not.
grenades are delicious.
Ew.
Aw.
An explosion of flavor.
Well, I guess.
That shrapnel just sticks right in you.
Oh God. So I guess we should. I think we'll just save Metal Gear for next week, especially
Yeah.
because I haven't played Metal Gear.
Neither
Maybe
have I.
the rest of us can play Metal Gear before next week.
I'm not gonna play it.
I can get Peter. You loved Metal Gear Solid 4.
I want to play other games like Dark Souls 2
well, I
first.
mean, but
This is
but
only, like-
it only takes 10 minutes to play through Metal Gear.
That's true.
Well, I mean, you definitely can finish the main thing in about 2 hours. So.
Will you review the music of Ground Zeroes, but like doing the 10-minute BS runs where you just sprint through.
Just press fast forward on the
Like
if you can just like make your music player go like really fast, like 10 times as fast, and then review that would be great.
The scores are generally really good for Metal Gear games,
Oh, yeah.
and they usually have a really big team, and it's usually impressive that they have so many members of the sound team who can create that cohesive Metal Gear sound.
Well,
so.
that's Harry Gregson Williams.
Is he
that his
still
name?
involved?
Well, he was for 4.
I
don't
think
know
Keith
if he
Sutherland's
does.
doing it this time.
Oh, speaking of which, did you see David Hayter's Twitter and what he did on Twitter? He changed his Twitter picture to Kiefer Sutherland,
That's pretty good.
which is pretty great. So, and also, something tells me that Mr. Hayter won't be working with Kojima again.
There might be a little bad blood
A little
there.
bad blood, maybe. But
Sort of like the Adam West when they made when Tim Burton made Batman in '89, and Adam West kept saying, "They didn't even ask me."
That was
Really?
a thing.
That's a thing
Yeah.
that
He
happened.
was already like $150 or not buck 250 by that point, and an old man.
He
Yeah,
was
no.
250,
Yes.
like 250 years old.
No, like 250 pounds.
Oh,
He's not squeezing into the
right.
Michael Keaton
Right.
bat suits.
Well, to be fair, they're not going to be hiring Val Kilmer to come back anytime soon, at least. So I should thank everybody. First of all, let me thank everybody there. I got to choose a winner, though. The winner is Jayson Napolitano.
Woo.
I'll take
Congratulations!
it. Thank you.
It was the soundtrack quiz that put you over, so congratulations. Even though you didn't know the soundtrack that you had reviewed on your own
I knew it sounded
blog.
familiar. It's just you didn't pick a very one of the best themes.
The more iconic tracks.
There you go.
I chose
It's
the
your fault.
menu music.
It's your fault.
Yeah, it was kind of generic, I have to say.
It was
kinda
actually
generic.
pretty generic. But congratulations for winning. The game is stacked, but don't tell anybody that I'm not really.
I'll take
keeping
it.
the
I
points.
can be
I know,
happy with
right?
that.
So congratulations. There's no prize this week. The prize is Scarlet Moon Productions got some PR.
There you go.
So congratulations for Scarlet Moon
Absolutely.
Productions.
Yes.
You can. Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Here are some of Scarlet Moon Records' fine
What have you?
See,
what have you produced? You got Dragon Fantasy Book 2.
Saturday
So-
morning RPG.
I grabbed that. That's not going anywhere.
that cover
That's
art.
mine.
That cover art's pretty
Can't
cool,
have it.
right? Yeah.
This is these ones. If you go over to that camera,
What Cynthia's got over there. There
I took this one. You
that
can't
one.
have it.
So you got the Dragon Fantasy Book 2 soundtrack, which is Dale North doing the kind of typical 16-bit JRPG soundtrack. You got the again the Saturday morning RPG one. This is Vince DiCola, the guy who did Rocky IV and Transformers the movie from 1986.
Mm-hmm.
He did his first game soundtrack. And
Oh
it's a,
God, 80s! I'm ready
yes,
for you.
and it has like this kind of like 80s rock, synth rock sound that he's known for. And it also has a remix by Vert and Stemage of Metroid Metal, who's playing tonight in town, by the way. Metroid
Yeah.
Metal. And then the last one is a Korean MMO soundtrack called Monarch. And it has it's a Korean MMO fantasy RPG soundtrack. And then there's an Arrange album that has a track by Dale North, by Josh Morse, and by Norihiko Hibino, who's the Japanese composer who did Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, saxophone. He does like a really dreamy kind of saxophone and piano, sleep-inducing arrangement on the album. So those are
Well, if there's one thing I think of when I think of Metal Gear, it's sleep-inducing saxophone.
there you go.
So actually, I'm kind of intrigued now. I'll have to check that out when we're done. But let me thank everybody in the room, of course, too. So thank you, Jayson Napolitano, of course.
Well, thank you
for
guys. I
coming
mean,
aboard.
it was a blast, so I really appreciate it.
And your teammate, Carolyn Pettit.
Yes, hi.
Yes.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Social justice warrior, Carolyn
That's
Carolyn
right.
Pettit.
Please address me from now on as social justice warrior Carolyn Pettit.
And that's an official title, so capitalize all
Can
of
we add
those.
princess in there, please?
Princess?
Nice.
Yes, because then you're the warrior princess. Like
Oh,
Xena.
okay.
There you go.
I'll think about it.
Carol
Okay.
Warrior Princess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cynthia Weirs, thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Tom McShay, thank you very much.
Hello.
And thanks to everybody.
Wait.
Oh,
Goodbye.
okay, goodbye.
I should say goodbye.
Can we do the sound of music goodbye? Like, can we
No.
do so long, farewell,
Farewell,
auf Wiedersehen,
Wiedersehen.
adieu, adieu. No, okay. So thank
We
you
don't
to
have the
everybody
rights
out-
to that.
Oh, right. YouTube will sue us, even though, yeah. I wonder if that could happen, actually, if we did that.
Could probably won't.
Anyway,
We
so
probably shouldn't.
so
There's
thank
a
you.
puppy in here.
Cynthia's in love with the...
Aww.
With
Well,
the
you know
soundtrack.
Dale's known as the
There's
Corgi
Puppy.
King. And
I
so,
hope it doesn't die.
Shush.
Wow.
Why are you so dark?
I'm pretty dark today. So thank you to everybody out there. Thanks for watching. If you're on GameSpot or Twitch or YouTube, thank you for listening. If you are listening on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, and if you're not, You can subscribe to us. It's GameSpot Gameplay, of course. You can find us everywhere that there is a podcast search. So follow us on iTunes. Follow us on wherever. Follow us on your RSS feed. Follow us on Zune, because that's still a thing. Or it's
And
Windows
Twitter.
Music, I
Xbox
guess now.
Music.
Xbox Music,
And
yeah.
Twitter.
So, but regardless,
Twitter.
you know, follow us
On the street.
yeah, everywhere. Yeah. So thank you very much, and I guess we'll see you next week on episode 67.